Right now, in whatever room you're sitting in, there's almost certainly a moment of total silence happening near you. Not a pause in conversation. Real silence. No notification chime, no hum of traffic, no podcast playing in the background. And if you noticed it at all, you probably reached for something within seconds. Your phone, the TV remote, anything. For 300,000 years, that reflex didn't exist because there was nowhere for it to come from. Silence wasn't a gap to be filled. It was simply what most of human life sounded like. And the way our ancestors handled that silence built something we've almost completely lost: the ability to sit with another human being and say nothing at all. Let's start with what silence actually meant before noise was everywhere. Anthropologists who study small-scale societies, groups still living without industrial infrastructure, have documented something strange to modern ears. In many hunter-gatherer camps, long stretches of physical closeness happen with almost no talking. People sit shoulder to shoulder, working, resting, watching the fire, and they simply don't fill the air. Researchers studying groups like the Hadza of Tanzania have noted that comfortable silence between people who know each other well isn't awkward. It isn't something to escape. It's a sign of trust so complete that words become unnecessary. Compare that to now. Studies on modern conversation have found that most people experience a silence longer than 4 seconds as uncomfortable enough that they'll say something, anything, just to break it. 4 seconds. Our ancestors sat in silence for hours, sometimes entire afternoons, working a hide or weaving cordage beside someone they loved, and neither one needed to perform connection out loud. So what changed? The answer starts, strangely enough, with the same villain behind so much of our modern transformation: artificial stimulation arriving faster than our biology could adapt to it. In 1969, a psychologist named Stuart Valins ran an experiment that revealed something unsettling about silence and the human nervous system. He found that when people were placed in a quiet room with no external input, many of them began experiencing genuine discomfort within minutes. Not boredom exactly, but something closer to mild anxiety. The mind, when not given anything to process, starts processing itself. And for a species that evolved with very little ambient noise, that should have been the normal state. But somewhere between the radio, the television, and the device currently in your pocket, our brains became wired to expect a constant stream of input. Silence stopped feeling restful. It started feeling like something was missing. There's a more extreme version of this. In 2014, researchers at the University of Virginia ran a study where they asked participants to sit alone in a room with nothing to do for just 15 minutes. No phone, no book, just their own thoughts. The only other option available to them was a button that delivered a mild electric shock. The result was almost unbelievable. A significant portion of participants, including some who had explicitly said beforehand they'd pay money to avoid being shocked, chose to shock themselves rather than sit with their own silent thoughts. Men shocked themselves more than women. One participant pressed the button 190 times in 15 minutes. We have become, measurably, people who would rather hurt ourselves than be alone with nothing. But here's what makes this so strange. Our ancestors didn't have a button to press. They had nothing to escape into. And the silence that we now find unbearable was, for them, where some of the most important parts of being human actually happened. Think about what silence does between two people who trust each other. It removes performance. When you're not required to speak, you're not managing how you sound, you're not filling time, you're not entertaining, you're just present. Researchers studying attachment and bonding have found that comfortable silence, the kind where neither person feels obligated to talk, is one of the clearest behavioral markers of deep relational security. Babies don't need their caregivers narrating constantly to feel safe. Long-married couples report that some of their most connected moments are wordless ones, just existing in the same space. This isn't a coincidence. It's likely a direct descendant of hundreds of thousands of years where silence, shared with the right people, meant safety rather than absence. And there's a physical layer to this too. When researchers measure cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, they consistently find that periods of genuine quiet, away from noise and demands, allow levels to drop in a way that constant stimulation never permits. A 2006 study published in the journal Heart found that just 2 minutes of silence could be more relaxing to the cardiovascular system than supposedly relaxing music. Silence actually lowered blood pressure and heart rate faster. Your body still remembers what to do with quiet. It just rarely gets the chance anymore. So, if silence used to be where trust, intimacy, and recovery happened, what replaced it? The answer arrived gradually, then all at once. Radio entered American homes in the 1920s, and for the first time in history, ordinary people could fill their evenings with a constant stream of voices that weren't actually in the room with them. Television followed a few decades later, then portable music, then, within the last 15 years, a device that ensured silence was never more than an arm's length away from disappearing completely. Each step promised connection. Each step actually made us worse at the kind of presence that requires nothing being said at all. Here's the uncomfortable part. We didn't just lose silence, we lost practice at tolerating our own minds. Every time we reach for a phone during a quiet moment, we're not just filling time, we're avoiding a kind of mental contact our ancestors had no choice but to develop. They sat with their thoughts because there was nothing else to sit with. We've engineered a world where that almost never has to happen, and the muscle for it has quietly atrophied in nearly everyone alive today. So the next time you're with someone you trust and the conversation runs out and that itch creeps in to check your phone or say something just to fill the air, consider sitting in it instead. Not because silence is mystical or sacred, but because for nearly the entire span of human existence, it was simply the sound of being alive next to someone else, unguarded, with nothing performed and nothing required. We traded that for a constant stream of noise, And most of us never noticed what quietly went missing in the exchange, the simple, ancient ability to say nothing at all and mean everything by it.